Today we're going to show you how to change your oil. It's a pretty simple thing to do on your own. First thing I did was put the vehicle on these stands, which can be purchased at AutoZone or any store like that. These ones are pretty old, but they definitely still work. You have to really be sure that they'll be able to clear the bumper, though. As this Grand Marquis sits low to the ground, I had to definitely make sure of that before I put it up on the stands. Second thing is you put the parking brake on before you exit the vehicle. That's crucial. Push it down as far as you can because you don't want any of the vehicle to fall down on you. And then third, I always take an extra precaution of putting a brick or something behind the both back wheels. As you can see, you can also have a wedge block or something that is designed for it, but it's not necessary if you have a brick or anything like that. So we have the parking brake on, the vehicle's in park, and the bricks are there for safety. So the second step is after you, of course, buy your appropriate oil, which I have sitting in the passenger seat, you take off your main cap. So it has a little bit of a vent. I always like to leave it sit there so no dirt gets in it. And then you would go underneath and you would take off the oil drain plug, which on this vehicle is right here on the side. Most vehicles do not have a transmission oil drain plug, which that's the transmission right there. So it's pretty easy not to, screw this one up. However, some of them do, and so you definitely want to make sure which one is the engine oil pan and which one is the transmission fluid oil pan. So that's the one right there, and you are going to take that off and then drain it into an appropriate drain pan. And what I usually do is I drain it into the pan, and then I fill my jug that I put the fresh oil in the car with, and I recycle it. My local AutoZone takes it for free and they recycle it, so you don't have to worry about getting rid of it. So after you drain the oil by taking off that drain plug bolt, you would put the plug back in, and of course before we jump too far ahead, you're going to have to take the oil filter off if you're doing good oil change, which on this vehicle can be seen from the engine bay right here. So we would take that off with an oil filter wrench that I have, and you'd let that drain out into the pan as well. Then you're going to prime your filter. So how you do that is you take your new filter here, and you have to prime it. So I'm going to take my brand new oil, my mobile oil, and I'm going to put a little bit around this gasket. You definitely want to make sure that the rubber gasket from the old filter came off, because if it doesn't, you'll leak oil all over the place. So you make sure your old gasket is off, then you take your new gasket and you're going to put a little bit of oil around here, fresh oil. And what that's going to do is that's going to make sure that gasket doesn't get dry and rot out and leak all your oil. Then you're going to prime it, which you're going to fill it up in the middle here with your new oil. I like to try to get it to the top if I can, but obviously that's not going to happen with this vehicle because it's at an angle. Right here, you can tell that it's almost completely horizontal. So I'm going to try to get a little bit in there, at least get it moist, because I don't want the pressure of the engine, 40 psi or whatever it's going to do at startup, to ruin the filter, and that's the whole goal there. You want to get it a little bit moist with oil. And then after you do that, you put your oil filter primed back on. You're going to take a funnel, place it right in here on the valve cover oil fill, and then you're going to fill it up with oil, put the cap back on, and I always look underneath the vehicle, make sure it's not leaking anything, and then you're going to start the vehicle and check its oil pressure. You always want to look at the oil pressure, which is all the way down because the vehicle's off right now. You're always going to check the oil pressure before you do anything. Make sure that it's sufficient, because if not, you've got a leak somewhere and you've got a real big problem. And then I always also like to get from my AutoZone, I like to get the data or mileage of next oil change to put in the corner. That way it's, it's almost like a professional, and you put it up in the corner of your windshield and you have a constant reminder. Alright, any questions or anything, feel free to comment or message me, and I'll be happy to answer anything about this particular car or any of my videos. Alright, thanks.